Those who just joined, my name is John Garbin. I'm here with VoIP Supply. Thank you for joining us on this presentation with Granstream. We also have Ernesto on the line from Grandstream. He'll be kind of taking the lead here. So just a quick background on VoIP Supply. We were founded back in 2002, pretty much the first in the VoIP industry to really get into the business. 30 plus employees. Myself, I'm a part of the sales team. So lots of knowledge throughout our base. Have served over 125,000 customers worldwide. We personally can ship internationally and domestically. And Amherst, New York, which is pretty much Buffalo, New York. Through VoIP Supply, we do have a partner program. Through this, we can get you, reseller-based pricing. We can set you up through other programs, Grandstream's reseller program, to kind of help you get products with the best pricing and availability market. It also allows you to look into the CloudSpan marketplace, which we'll touch on in a second, where we can resell VoIP services. In addition, we have both a fulfillment where we can provision your devices in-house and ship them off to your customers with your branding, personalized, pamphlets and brochures tucked into the devices. And then additionally, a good additional option that we sell is our refresh reclaim, where we refurb products and resell them at a lower cost. Also buy back equipment to provide you some cash on the end as well. So again, CloudSpan Marketplace, we get you set up with a reseller agreement. Typically, our commission rates start around 15% for any deals that you would push through us. We deal with about 5 or 6 major vendors. There's no quotas or commitment levels. Really just sign on and kind of present opportunities as they come, and we can kind of assist you with both the quoting and or demo. And then lastly, that is my ugly mug there. You can feel free to contact me. My phone is 716-531-4271, or shoot me an email. I'd be happy to kind of lead you through the partner program, help you out with quotes or any material or training information, and then happy to get you quotes and push those opportunities as you need. So now we will get into the heart of the presentation here. Like I said, Ernesto is here from Grandstream. Grandstream has been a great partner with VoIP Supply. It's a solution and a product line that I pitch into customers. It's a lot of great success in regards to that. So definitely looking forward to Ernesto has to say. I've looked through the presentation. It's a lot of awesome content. So Ernesto, feel free to take it away.
All right. Thank you, John. Thank you very much. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are. My name is Ernesto Calderón here at Grandstream Networks, our headquarters in Boston, Massachusetts. And today, as John mentioned before, we're going to talk about the latest access point. The Grandstream has put a lot of effort into it. It's been out in the market since last year with a lot of nice application features that you can take advantage by using the web interface. Everything's super easy to handle. And today we're going to be talking about a little intro about all the GWN series, access point, large indoors and outdoors, and a little bit of the router that we also have available for you. And after that, we're going to be talking about the application features, all the applications that come with the unit, and then at the end, the upcoming new features, like the cloud-based management tool, for example. That one's going to be available soon. Now, we have, as John mentioned before, a Q&A session at the end. I will be happy to answer all of them. So, Grandstream offerings. So, as you may know, Grandstream has been in the market since 2002, similar to VoIP Supply, and we started doing ATAs, IP phones back then. As of today, we have the latest generation of IP phones. We have IP video phones, enterprise IP phones, SMBs, DEC phones, and PBXs. So keep an eye on our UCM. We have more trainings and webinars specifically about the UCM. So you can check VoIP Supply website or Grandstream website. For surveillance cameras, we also work on, we have product towards that product line, and ATAs from 1 port, 2 ports, 4 ports, all the way to up to 48 ports, and obviously network products like access point and router. By the way, I forgot to mention that this webinar is being brought to you by IP Video Talk. Check ipvideotalk.com to see the free plans that we have available so you can do your webinars or video conference solutions. Now, let's get started with access points. So we have three models: indoors, the GWN7610 and the 7600. And then we also have a GWN outdoors, which we call the 7600 LR. And of course, we have a router, GWN7000, that I can probably show you a little bit about the specs later on. Now, let me get started with the GWN7610. Keep an eye, this one is the larger access point that supports up to 250 Wi-Fi clients. It comes with a 1.75 gigabit per second throughput within the 2 gigabit wireline port. Most important is the coverage. It covers about 175 meters, and it comes with a dual band antenna, 3x3 MIMO technology, which it can process multiple users simultaneously. And then for advanced Wi-Fi security features, the most typical protocols or encryption security protocols like WEP, WPA, and WPA2 Enterprise as an example. I'm going to be showing you more about this later today. Now, simultaneously dual band, as I mentioned before, that device is an 802.11 AC, meaning that it supports two bands in the 2.4 and 5.0 gigahertz. And most important, last but not least, embedded controller. So with only one device, you can turn on the controller that comes embedded into that particular device. You don't need a third-party software running in a computer. You don't need a third-party or a third hardware that is running your access point controller. This in Grandstream has developed a lot of effort into making the controller available within the same unit. Now, the next model that I want to present today is the GWN7600. So it's a little smaller. It's also an indoor device, same 802.11 AC, Wave 2, and it's a dual band, 2.4 and 5.0. Very similar to the last one, but this one is designed to places that don't require much coverage range. So because of that, this device supports 450 Wi-Fi clients. A throughput is a little lower than the other model. This one has a 1.27 gigabit per second throughput, and also it has 2 gigabit wireline ports. The coverage is 165 meters. The other model that I showed you before, the coverage is 175. This one is 165. But this device comes with a dual band 2x2 MU MIMO technology. So because of that, it can support multiple users simultaneously, but not as many as the 3x3 MIMO that the other 7610 supports. For advanced Wi-Fi security features, the same protocol as I mentioned before, from WEP to WPA2 Enterprise. It's a dual band device, and again, embedded controller. So let me go back to the 7610. If you enable the controller on this 7610, then you can control or manage up to 50 access points. But if you have a small version, 7600, then you can control up to 30 APs. Now let's move on to the next outdoors access point. This is the GWN7600 LR, which basically supports up to 450 Wi-Fi clients, similar to the last one. Keep an eye on the model number or the number 7600 LR compared with the 7600 indoors, which it has the same features, the same Wi-Fi client, the same throughput, 1.27. The coverage, of course, is the only difference because this is an outdoors device. It can cover up to 300 meters with superior device mobility. And this device is a dual band with 2x2 MU MIMO technology and the same advanced Wi-Fi feature as the other two models. And if you want to enable the controller on this device, not recommended. Typically, you prefer to enable the controller into a indoors equipment. But if you ever have to do that, then you can control up to 30 access points. And so let's summarize. These are the 3 access points. These are the specs. So typically the throughput is kind of the only difference, and the range, right, the coverage range. Other than that, everything is very similar. Oh, SSIDs. So if you enable the controller in one of your IPs, then you can create up to 16 SSIDs per access point. So then you can create 16 SSIDs, and then you can match them to different network groups. I'll show you a little bit of that when we get to that particular application feature. But this chart, I want you to keep an eye on the embedded controller that you can control from 50 to 30 units, depending where you enable the controller. It's a very easy option, by the way. When you connect the first device, that's going to be your master. I'm going to show you later how to access that device, enable the controller, and then as you connect more IPs, they're going to be, we call it slave devices. That's going to be part of your controller database. Now, let me show you a little bit about the router. Today's webinar is not about the router, but I just want you to know that Grandstream also has a router available for you. This is a 7 gigabit ports, 2 for WAN, 5 for LAN, hardware accelerated VPN, embedded provisioning. So the master, for example, if you want to enable the access point controller from this equipment, then you can control up to 300 APs. So if you prefer to use a, let's call it existing network installation, you can have your own router, you can have your own switches, but if you want to provide Wi-Fi, then you want to add Grandstream APs, you can do that, and then you can turn on the AP controller on one device. However, if you prefer to utilize the whole Grandstream solution, Grandstream routers, and Grandstream APs, then you can enable the controller on the router, which has more horsepower, and it can control up to 300 APs. Multi-WAN ports with low balancing and failover. We're going to be releasing soon a new firmware that allows you to connect a USB LTE dongle into the USB port. So then you have 3 WANs to use. Firewall features, 2 USB ports, as I mentioned before, that one of them can be used for backup or probably as a printer maybe. Now, let's go back to the access points. Installation and deployment. So the number one thing you have to do is find out the MAC address of your unit, just connect it into your network, and open your browser and enter the string that you can see on your screen so you can access the web interface. Basically, it's GWN underscore the MAC address dot local, and then click enter, and then you're going to access your AP web interface right away. We also have a software. It's free for download. You can download it off your Grandstream or Grandstream.com website. Basically, it's a Windows-based. It's a search tool. When you connect it, you're going to find out all the APs in your network. You're going to see the model, the software version, and the IP address. So then you can click on the manage device, and then you can access the web interface. That's another way of accessing your APs. And a third way, by the way, that I didn't mention is very soon, keep an eye on our website, in voice supply announcement, we're going to be launching the cloud-based management tool. That one comes with an app available, iOS or Android. With that app, you can use your cell phone, you can scan the AP, and then you can integrate that AP into your network. All right, now that you are in the web interface, normally you type admin to access. The very first time, by the way, that you access the web interface, it's gonna prompt you to change the password, okay? Now, in a standalone architecture, it's super easy. You don't even need to access the web interface to configure your SSIDs. By default, you connect your IP into your existing network, and there is already an SSID, which is, the name is the GWN and the last 6 digits of your device. And the password, by the way, the Wi-Fi password is printed on the sticker of the unit. Now, with an AP connected to your network, you can create, as I said before, multiple SSIDs, and then you can tie each SSID to different network groups. This is a standard architecture. No, it's super easy, out of the box. When you connect the AP, you check the sticker on the back of the unit. At the bottom, I don't know if you can see my mouse, basically, you can see at the bottom the SSID number, which is GWN, and the last 6 digits of the MAC address. You're going to pop up that in your computer or cell phone, and then you're going to enter the Wi-Fi password that is written on the same sticker. Okay, that's in a standalone installation. Now, if you want to be a little more specific or more creative, you want to create your own SSIDs, you want to create your own password, then obviously you access the web interface and then start configuring based on your requirements. So the master GWN is the first unit that you connect. The following APs that you connect, they're going to be called slaves. There's an option in the web UI that you're going to discover all your APs, and then you're going to tie them into the master controller. Eventually, when you have 5, 6 APs under your controller, then you can assign multiple SSIDs and multiple network groups, as I mentioned before. But the idea is that the first unit connected, that's going to become your master, and the subsequent unit that you connect to your network, they're going to auto-discover within the network, by the way. It's sort of like a plug-and-play option. That then you, from the controller, you're going to be able to select the APs of your preference. This is an example. This is the master AP web interface. In the top right corner, you have a Discover button. When you click on that, the second screen on your right is going to show up, and then you're going to see all the APs in your network. The only thing you have to do is click on the action button to peer into your network. Once you have all the APs under your controller, then you can gain multiple features. For example, obviously you can do the auto discovery. You're going to be doing the pairing devices. You're going to the devices are going to automatically provision each other. Then you're going to be managing the Wi-Fi network settings, managing your groups and SSIDs, and finally managing your client and master and failover. So I'm going to show you how the web interface looks like. Once you select an AP, you discover the first, you select the action button. Second step is you create your groups on the left-hand side. Then on the right-hand side, you're going to create your SSIDs. A typical example is in a typical office environment, you may have your guest network, your office network, probably lab training or VoIP or voice network. Once you create your groups, network groups, then you start creating your SSIDs and start linking each SSID to each network group of your preference. From the embedded controller, then you can see your client management. Again, the controller could be in any device. You decide where to enable it. From the client management, then you can see all the clients connected to the network, either via wired, in case you're using a router. The APs, they come with a second network port, So then you can connect a switch there also and connect multiple devices there wirelessly. And then obviously the client, wireless client, you can see that the MAC address, IP address, and the throughput, you can see that also. All right, now what happens if the primary or the controller goes down or is not accessible? Power failure. Your PoE switch, for example, is stopped working. By the way, obviously all our APs, they are PoE enabled. So you need to have a PoE switch to provide voltage to the unit. Now, what about if the primary controller goes down? Then you as an administrator, you need to select any AP, typically any of your slave APs, you can select that as the failover master, meaning that these two devices during normal operations, they're going to be kind of pinging each other to see who is up, who is down, and most important, they're going to be synchronizing the data. So when the primary is down, the failover master is going to take over and all the data is available already. Now let me show you a little bit about the main application features that are supported in our APs. These are the ones that we thought are the most important, highlighted. The access point support many other application features, but these are some of the features that I would like to show you today. So monitoring and reporting. Obviously, when you access your AP, the main overview page or the dashboard gives you a full control of your network health. You can see how many APs are active, meaning online or maybe offline. You can see how many clients are connected in one shot, depending on the band. You can see that, as an example, you have 4 clients connected. 3 of them are using band 2.4, and just 1 is using band 5 gigs. Then you have on the right-hand side the access point channel distribution. You can see the top clients. You can see the top SSIDs, meaning that based on the usage, you can see what AP is using more your bandwidth. And for SSIDs, you can also see what SSID is utilizing your bandwidth limitations. And same for the top clients. So you can identify what particular client is downloading more or uploading more bandwidth. And lastly, we have for reporting, obviously you have a way that you can see the MAC address, the part number, the firmware version, uptime, load average, link speed, and wireless channel. That with one click you can get that information. And this option, I really like it, is for reporting. So you can enable many, let's call it actions, that once you enable these actions, then you can be notified via email when some of these actions are triggered. For example, CPU usage. There's a threshold when reaching, let's say 80%, then the unit is going to report to your email indicating what is happening at that time. The ones that I really like to enable are memory usage, CPU usage, and an AP offline. So when one of these actions are happening, then you can be notified via email. Keep an eye that this option is available only in the 7610, and it will be pending on the 7600, including the long range. As of today, probably this one is available already, so because we released a new firmware a few days ago. All right, the next application feature is band steering. So obviously, if you have a Wi-Fi network with multiple clients that they may be using, and they may be supporting a dual band, like a new laptop today, a new cell phone, they support dual band, right, 2.4 and 5.0. But you may have some customers that they are legacy Wi-Fi clients that they support 2.4 only. So in that way, you can enable a band steering, so you can steer these legacy customers to use 2.4 only, and the dual band clients, sorry, you can steer them to use 5.0 only. So then you can leave more space for the 2.4 for your legacy customers. And you can do also the opposite. But in a typical environment, you prefer to allocate the 2.4 only for the 2.4 clients and steer up the dual band clients to use only the 5 gig. Client isolation, very good option. So for a guest network, this is the one that you want to enable. When you turn that option on, the first option is internet mode, which obviously anyone in this network will be using internet only. They cannot access other clients in the network. They cannot access the printer, for example, and things like that. We have another mode that we call a gateway MAC. So by entering a MAC address, typically it's your router for troubleshooting, for example, or you may have a printer, for example, that you can allow guest user only to access the printer. Then whatever MAC address you enter, then that's going to be allowed besides the internet. And lastly, we have the radio mode, which the wireless client can access to the internet service. As an example, GWN router and the access point, but they cannot communicate with each other. So let me show you in a better graph so you can understand. When you enable internet mode, then they can access the internet. You can see the green arrows. Basically, the clients can go to internet, but they cannot communicate with each other. They cannot communicate with your APs, or they cannot communicate with the router. So that's in an internet mode. In a radio mode, then same thing. You can see they can enable communicate with the AP and the router. They have internet access, but they cannot communicate with each other. And lastly, the gateway mode, depending what IP you enter, or MAC address, sorry, they can communicate with internet and with the router. Let's say that you enter the MAC address of the router, then they can communicate with that particular device. But they cannot communicate with each other or with your APs. That's a good example is in case you have an intranet. So you want the guests to have access to internet and at the same time to your intranet. Another application feature that is supported is the client bridge. That's an excellent option in case you are opening a new office in the same building that you don't want to throw a cable. So instead of wiring that new office that you may have, let's say 10 clients, for example, then what you can do is enable the Wi-Fi bridge between both APs. One of the APs obviously is connected to your main network, and the second AP is going to be receiving the network through the Wi-Fi. Remember, the APs, they come with 2 network ports. Then one in the second network port, you're going to connect a switch, and in that switch, obviously, you connect your clients. Wi-Fi scheduler, so, obviously you can schedule when you want to provide Wi-Fi signal or not. Typically, it's an office hours, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, you do want Wi-Fi to be available, but after hours, you don't want Wi-Fi to be available. Same thing for the LED scheduler, we have that option in case you want to turn off the LEDs, in case the AP is in a location that probably the LED is blinking, maybe triggering a motion detection, in the middle of the night. So we have that option. You can also enable it based on the schedule, and you're also going to be saving energy. Next one is bandwidth management. So you can manage the bandwidth up and downstream based on multiple elements. You can do that per SSID, per client, and IP address. So depending on the choice, you can enable bandwidth management, selecting one of these elements, SSID, MAC address, or IP address, and then you can allocate a specific bandwidth for that particular element. And roaming. Roaming is typically roaming. It's a product, the clients are the ones that are doing the roaming. So a cell phone or a laptop, they have their own protocols to roam from one AP to the other one. However, Grandstream is aware that most of these clients are using this most typical protocol, what is called RSSI, PMK caching or the enterprise voice. So then we are utilizing those protocols to facilitate the client's roaming capabilities. So for example, RSSI, which stands for Receive Signal Strength Indication. This is a protocol that you need to manually enable it in your AP. If you know that your client supports that particular protocol, you enable it in this menu that I'm showing. So basically, it's used to help with clients roaming and preventing clients from connecting to the wrong AP, which can affect its performance. So through this protocol, we're going to be sending to the client, for example, the signal strength of the AP, so the client knows where to hop on. The next one is we call it PMK, sorry, which stands for, so it's another roaming protocol, my bad. So basically what it's doing is providing the Wi-Fi range so the AP can tell what is the range between the following AP. In that way, we can send that information to the client to avoid, my bad, let me rephrase it. So basically, the roam back to previous AP, if you have a client that authenticated with AP1, for example, and then it roams to another AP, when that client comes back to AP1, then the authentication will not be needed. In that way, we can save on roaming or connecting to the original AP. This is an option that comes, PMK, it's embedded into the software. You don't need to enable it. The next one is Enterprise Voice. This is an option that you do need to enable it from the web interface. Enterprise Voice has a shorter scan time and does omit the four-way handshake to reduce the roaming time and reduce the packet loss. So if a client connected to the first AP, obviously the first time, for security reason, we gotta do all the handshaking, but when the returning client comes back to the AP, then we're gonna avoid that four-way handshake. And again, this is a feature that you need to enable. Another application feature supported is the captive portal. So automatically, it's a checkbox that you need to enable. And by default, there's a captive portal with a Grandstream logo, a connect button, and a check mark, so you can allow the connection. But obviously, you need to customize it. You can upload your own logo. You can upload your own text. It's fully customizable. And once you enable the captive portal, there are different ways to authenticate. Number one is without authentication. This is a good example. Basic no authentication. People is going to have a pop-up browser showing, in this case, the logo and then the connect button. They just click connect and they're going to gain access to the internet. However, you can do authentication by utilizing a radio server, Facebook, and very soon Twitter. So if you enable these different type of authentications, if you're using radios, which is a very typical option when you are in a hospitality environment, coffee shop, for example, voucher, we're going to be adding, we added already in one of the models, and we're going to be, the voucher is going to be supported across all the three models, meaning that you need to have a radio server. The radio has the database with all the user ID and password. A hotel is a good example, right? Your name and, the room number and your last name to access. So the hotel is going to fill that information into the radio server, and then the access point, the client is going to pop up the captive portal. They're going to see the user and password. They enter the information. The client is going to send that to the AP, and the AP is going to authenticate that with a radio server. And Facebook and Twitter, same logic. So the access point will be authenticating the credentials directly with Facebook or Twitter. I'm going to show you a little bit about how to customize your screen, your captive portal page. So you go to the web interface, you go to the files option, and you have here all the HTML files that you can download, customize it, and upload it, or you can create your own and upload it and delete the default ones. Also, you have an option that you can see how many clients are in your are through the captive portal. You can you can enter a limit. For example, you can provide internet access, enter a limit of X amount of time. All right, how about security? So let me talk a little bit about security. Grandstream has put a lot of effort in working on to secure the software, to secure the unit, to secure the provisioning, so to make sure that the unit is not easy to hack into it. For example, we use X509 protocol, which each individual AP comes with a unique X509 certificate. That doesn't happen with other vendors. Sometimes other vendors, they use a general certificate. In our case, we use a unique certificate. The certificate contains the MAC address as the CN, and the certificate is used to secure the device identifier during provisioning, during pairing, controller devices communication, and others. Also, another feature that we added is the firmware protection. So there are multiple steps that the firmware in other devices becomes vulnerable. So we added some protection into the firmware, not only the firmware itself, we added some signatures to it so people cannot, let's say, upload a fake or customized firmware. During the boot and running time, we also added some protections. And then for the Wi-Fi encryption, we always recommend what is the recommendations in the market. You know, obviously the highly recommended option is WP2 with AES. However, you can also use WPA2 without AES, open, so the devices support all the encryption protocols. And lastly, password management. So as I said at the beginning, when you log into the AP, the first thing you see is the web interface. You enter admin, and then you're going to be prompted to change the password right away. Now, how about maintenance and troubleshooting? That the devices, the APs, any model, including the router, comes with different tools for you to troubleshoot or do some maintenance. For example, remote or local provisioning upgrade. You can set up your own TFTP server and upgrade the firmware of 50 or all the APs that you have in your network. We support a typical protocol, HTTP, TFTP, and HTTPS. A schedule upgrade and provisioning, that's a good option. That basically you may have 30 or 40 APs, and you don't want to apply a new firmware update during office hours. So you can schedule it to do it in the middle of the night. And in the latest firmware, this is a new option that is going to be supported. We have an option that you can upgrade the firmware in one AP at a time. So when you utilize that feature, you put a schedule, and then the network, the Wi-Fi network will always be up. So we're going to be upgrading the firmware in one AP at a time. syslog and packet capture, we support syslog, we support a capture module that you can capture all your packets, and then you're going to download a PCAP and open your bar chart. Syslog or log server, you can enable this option. This feature is supporting the 7610 and will be supported in the 7600 very soon. This feature is also supporting the router. So basically you can convert your AP into a log server. You turn that option on, and then you have all your clients, syslog, be sent into the AP, which is the log server, and then eventually you can go to the log server and download your logs. There's an automatic file cleanup so the flash doesn't get full. Ping, trace, route are supported as well. and core files. So eventually, if something happened with the AP, then you can download the core files and send it to Grandstream for more analysis. All right, now how about upcoming new features? So I mentioned at the beginning that keep an eye on grandstream.com. We're going to be launching, as a matter of fact, we have already a beta program, so you can test the cloud-based management tool. We call it GWN.cloud. Just go there, sign up for as a beta tester, and provide your feedback through Grandstream forum. So obviously, this is a tool so you can manage all your APs regardless where they are. That tool, by the way, once it's available, you have the ability to scan your APs by using your cell phone's app. We have that option available in Android and iOS. Next option that will be supported very soon in the routers is by adding a third net port can now work as a WAN. So the 5 LAN ports, one of them is labeled as net port. That port can be used as a WAN as well. And another option we will be adding soon, as I mentioned before, is the captive portal voucher option. So the voucher will be supported in all the APs, not only in the 7610 that is supported currently, but across all the APs. Linkify support will be supported very soon also. Linkify is an option that you're going to create your mapping, or typically what you normally do by using your GPS. GPS are using the cell towers and the satellites, but Linkify compress all that information within a Wi-Fi network. A good example is you can have application designed for a mall, then you can find stores by following a map, and the map is basically utilizing the access point to know exactly the location. All the protocols that will be supported in the router are GRE, BGP, RIP, and OSPF will be supported also in an upcoming firmware. Update IP firmware sequentially to avoid downtime. Remember that I mentioned that one, so you can utilize that when you have many APs in one network. Website blocking and airtime fairness. Mesh support. Mesh support is supported already in the GWN7610 and will be supported in the other 2 models. All right, so I believe this is it for today. I hope that I cover all the basic features of Grandstream APs. We're going to open up the Q&A in a few seconds. This is, again, at the bottom of your screen. You have a Q button. Just click on that. You can submit your questions, and I believe John is going to help me to answer the questions. John,
yes,
are you there?
I am.
All right.
So great presentation. Awesome job. The one question we had regarding the webinar, as stated, it will be sent to everybody, including obviously all sound recordings and everything. Ernesto, a question I have, obviously the AP kind of market has a lot of different vendors within it. 2 features in particular for Grandstream's AP that you'd point to directly as like a differentiator?
Right. So say that one more time.
Yeah, just in regards to, you got like Cisco APs, Ruckus, a lot of different vendors with market. Is there maybe 1 or 2 specific things that set Grandstream apart from everyone else? Oh,
yeah, definitely. One of the main features that highlight Grandstream APs comparing with other vendors is that the controller, embedded controller, that's one of the options that other vendors don't have it, and some of them are bringing that feature into their devices, but Grandstream has that since the beginning, and that you don't need a third-party computer to run the controller. You don't need another hardware to run the controller. With Grandstream, everything comes into one device. Just want to show you, pop up my AP. So I want to show you a little bit about how the web UI looks like. And you can go and read all the questions if we have more.
Yeah, we have a question from Peter. Will the 802.11w be supported?
802.11w, it's not currently supported. That's a software update, so we're hoping to support that option very soon.
James writes, can you change the data rates that the APs require?
The data rate yes, that's configurable. You can do that per AP. You can do that also per SSID and per network group.
Awesome. Then one last one that popped up. Len just wanted to ask if there was a webinar or some information you might have that focuses on the GWN7000 VPN router specifically.
Yes, for VPN, we support a typical VPN server and client, OpenVPN, for example. So it's open source, open VPN that you can install at the other end. Most of the routers today, they support that option. Besides OpenVPN, we also support other protocols, but that's the most common today, OpenVPN.
Okay. Sorry, the question was actually, they were just asking regarding the GWN7000 gigabit VPN router. Is there a webinar that you have that focuses on that specifically?
Yeah, definitely. You can check our website. We have a YouTube channel where we upload all the archives, all the webinars that we have done in the past. You may find some of the routers webinars that we have done in the past. You can also check on our website more documentation, spec sheets, for example, or the user manual about the router specifically. We have some white papers as well, everything under grandstream.com. Currently in North America, I may not have a router webinar scheduled for the next month, but in 2 months, we may be adding a routers webinar soon.
Awesome. Well, Ernesto, thanks so much for your time. Really appreciate you taking the time to run through this.
Awesome. Thank you very much, John, and thank you everyone for joining. Have a good day.
Awesome. Have a good day.